Get ready. I'm going to take you back to the 9th grade in Charlotte, North Carolina in 1957, 58. Maybe it was 60, I don't know. I walked into the civics classroom the first week of the 9th grade, and there standing in the front of the room was the teacher. She was familiar to me. I knew who she was. It was Miss Janie Kilgore. Because, see, I knew her before I ever walked in this room. We had lived in the same apartment house not far from the school since I was 8 years old. But of course I didn't know everything about her because I never had her as a teacher. And I had just been elected president of the chapter of the National Junior Honor Society at Piedmont Junior High School. And she was the faculty advisor. I knew that we were going to be working together and we were going to have a different, close relationship. Now, the first day of the civics class, I learned a hint right away as to what I was going to be dealing with. She explained very explicitly how she wanted you to put your name on your paper. Right at the top, right in the same place, everybody, so that when she flipped the paper, she could tell who had turned in and who hadn't. That all boils down to one thing. There was only one way, and it was her way, and that was the right way. And the sooner you learned that, the better off you were going to be in her classes. Oh, well, I could deal with that. Now, that year, the first thing that she and I were going to do together, to work together for the Honor Society, was the social event of the fall semester. We were going to have a sock hop. Now, I don't know whether you know what those are or not, but I'll tell you anyway. You have them in a gym. The basketball floors are perfect, and they're only for boys playing basketball. So if you're going to dance in there, you have to take your shoes off and leave them out in the hallway. The sock hop. We had a DJ. We wouldn't have a DJ, but we'd have music and food, and we were going to be able to bring a date. Now, this was for the members, but the members were going to be able to bring a date. I personally was very excited by that. This would be a first for me. Now, I did a lot of things in school. I had a lot of opportunities to have fun. I had a lot of friends, you know, all that kind of stuff. But I was boyfriend challenged. So I knew that there would be a couple of things. It was going to be a challenge for me to get a date to go to that party. You see, I was also missing a couple of other things that I noticed that the boys seemed to gravitate toward. Poodle skirts and elf shoes. The girls who wore poodle skirts with little sweaters and they had felt elf shoes, they were the popular ones with the boys. I didn't have any of those, and my mother wasn't buying them. So there was no chance for me to have that. I was going to have to figure out something else. So I started going into every classroom that I had. I knew most everybody in the school. And I would turn around and I would sort of check everybody out. He's pretty cute. But he didn't look back at me and saying with his eyes that I was cute. So I'd go down and I'd look, and he was cute too. But I wasn't getting back those cute looks. Now, one thing you have to know about me that I didn't quite understand. I was good with the books. They're smart. But I had never been tested on my decision-making abilities. So as I went around looking for cute, I chose a cute guy that I was going to ask. Now, he and I had been friendly. I'd helped him with his homework, to tell you something. So I, friendly and everything. His name was Carson. He was tall. I did like tall boys. He had blonde hair and freckles, and he definitely qualified as cute. He also played basketball. He was the star of the basketball team. Talk about aiming out of your stratosphere. I've never accepted limitations in my life. So anyway, I called him up. I got all my courage together. I took the phone. My heart was beating. My hands were clamming. Maybe you remember an episode like that when you were 13 years old. And so I made that phone call, and he said yes, he would go. I was beside myself. I was so happy about that. I was in a cloud. He was going to go. I had a date. I made arrangements to spend the night with a friend of mine, Margie, who lived closer to the school, because we would all be walking. And she had her date, Joe, whom I knew very well. And so we were making our plans. I was working hard with Miss Kilgore. I was going to have responsibilities at that party. She made that very clear. You have responsibilities that night. Well, that night, I had made plans. There we were. I was all dressed. I had a cute pleated skirt, plaid skirt, a bright red sweater with a little dicky collar, you know. I had polished my penny loafers, and I bought a new pair of socks. I was not taking my shoes off and taking any chances with old socks. So my mother rolled my hair up and helped me fluff it out, and I went over to Margie's, and we got dressed, and we were waiting. In the living room, her father was sitting there in his easy chair reading the newspaper. Her mother was just finishing up the dishes. And Joe, good old Joe, arrived right on time. And I sat down, and Carson was late. And they had to go on because they weren't going to have time to get to the school if they didn't leave at a certain time. And so I said, go ahead, he'll be here. But I was beginning to feel a heaviness in my chest, a little fear. My stomach was rumbling. And it was 5 minutes of 7. The party started at 7, and he still wasn't there. And I had to accept the truth that he wasn't coming. I was being stood up. I couldn't believe this was happening to me. Margie's father said, I don't understand this. I don't understand anybody can do that to such a sweet, cute, and wonderful girl as you are. And I said, neither do I. And Margie's mother came in and gave me a big hug, and then the phone rang. She picked it up and she says, Ellouise, it's for you. It was Miss Kilgore. Where are you? I'm at Margie's. Miss Kilgore, I'm not going to be able to come tonight. I can't come to the bar. You have to come. I can't come. I know what's happened. He's not coming. He stood me up. I am so embarrassed. I feel so bad. You are coming. Wash your face, brush your hair, and come out on the front porch. I'm coming myself to get you, and I'll be there in 10 minutes. Now, look, I knew this woman. I knew her since I was 8 years old, and I'd been working closely with her, and there was nothing to do but wash my face, brush my hair, and get myself out onto the front porch. She was there in under 10 minutes. I ran across the yard and I got in the car, and I said, Miss Kilgore, I can't go. I'm feeling so bad. I feel terrible. I can't. She started the car. She was driving her shiny burgundy Chevrolet coupe. Her pride, the car. I said, I can't. I'm not going to go. You can't make me go. And she stopped under a street light. And she turned to me, and we could each see each other, and she said, just listen here to me, young lady. You are going. You are not going to let that boy do this to you. You are better than that. And she sat up and started the car, and we drove to the school. When we got there, she let me off, and she said, now stand up straight, hold your head up high, and walk in there and have a good time. Well, I did that. I stood up straight. I took my shoes off. I put my head up high, and I walked in. And you know, they were all sweet to me. They didn't put me down. They didn't make me feel bad. And at the end of the evening, my friend Bill, whom I love to this day and talked to just recently on the phone in North Carolina about this very story, I said, tell me the truth. Did she make you take me home? And he said, well, she was a little involved, but I was glad that I did it. He was just remembering Hilda Beckham's backyard. Now, so the thing about it is that those things stay with you when they happen to you when you're 13 or 14 years old. We went on to high school, and it was all the same people. And so I had a great time in high school. I had a chance to do a lot of things. I got cute. I lost some weight. I looked better. That beauty that was inside me began to blossom. And I had dates and boyfriends. And then we graduated. And I still had that thing. If anybody was coming to get me and they were 2 minutes late, I began to panic. But I began to get comfortable with that, to get over it. And then I went to Baltimore to school, and I met my prince. And we got married, had children, had a family. And 25 years later, Jim took me to our 25th high school reunion. It was being held at Central High School. It was in the auditorium, cleared of chairs. It was all social, food, everything. People were clustering. You know, you're wearing your face, your 16, 17-year-old face on your shoulder, and your regular, everyday face at 36 is on your face, you know. So you're trying to, very disconcerting, trying to figure out who everybody is. But I passed by this one group of men. They were the grown-up boys that I had known in junior high school and high school. And I recognized one of them. So I waved, and I'm a friendly person, and I waved, and I started over there. And from the back of that group, somebody called out, well, have you forgiven me yet? I stopped dead in my tracks. Was that the apology? And since his cronies were already beginning to laugh, I didn't think so. He had, in fact, held me up once more to be ridiculed. And this all happened in a flash of a second. And before I could control it, my 14-year-old voice came out of my mouth and said, no, and I never will. And I turned around and headed back toward my prince. And on the way across that room, you know what I was thinking? Thank you, Miss Janie Kilgore. And if anybody ever asks me, who's the most important teacher I ever had, guess who? I tell them, Miss Janie Kilgore.